Hello, I'm Dr. Marilyn Mobley, immediate past president of Blacks in Management, and I'm here today with my dear colleague, Stefan Holmes. We're here on Tuesday, May 26, 2026, and we are continuing our interviews with BIM members, Blacks in Management members. So today, Stefan, we're happy to have you with us, and each of these interviews, we begin by asking, when and how did you learn about Blacks in Management?
Well, Marilyn, thank you. Thank you for having me. This is a great project. I wanted to say that. And without your leadership and guidance, I wouldn't be here. And I'm sure those that preceded me would probably echo the same. So thank you.
My pleasure.
My involvement with BIM, I had to think about it when you had asked me a week or two ago.
Okay.
But it goes back to the early 90s. So we're talking over 30 some years ago. I came to know BIM through one of my father's best friends, Al Thompson, who was one of the first agency managers for Prudential Insurance.
Oh.
And as coincidence and life happens, one of my neighbors at the time was Dave Whitehead.
Okay.
And
Who we've already interviewed. Yes.
exactly. And so it was a combination of my Uncle Al, as I called him, and my neighbor Dave, really introducing me to the organization and inviting me to become a member, which I was really taken aback because I had thought of BIM as being one of the leading organizations for African Americans in the business world.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad you said that because I want to back up just a pinch. Tell us about your role here in Cleveland. In other words, what has been your own leadership journey?
I laugh because, like probably a lot of folks, I have various careers.
Okay.
And I started off in sales right out of school, working for a company called Xerox. And in Xerox, I had done extremely well. I made the President's Club, which honors the top, I believe, 10% of their sales reps.
Okay.
And when you back in those days, you were basically selected as a candidate for their management school, which they have a whole different management course and track in Leesburg, Virginia, which is still there.
Oh.
So truly long story short, part of the end of this 3-year program, they ask you to volunteer for an organization to basically share what you've learned in management skills and sales with those organizations. And I happened to choose the United Negro College Fund.
Okay.
So real long story short, I loved that experience so much. I worked for the College Fund for almost 6 years as their area and then regional director. It all came about because my territory in Xerox back then was Detroit and Western Ohio, and full of auto dealership, or I should say auto manufacturers. One of my top clients was Ford Motor Company and American Motors out of Jeep out of Toledo. United Negro College Fund was really changing the way that they were doing business. And so they went with a telethon, the Lou Rawls Parade of Stars.
I remember that. Oh, my goodness.
So what I could do is connect the dots with a lot of my company contacts and my client contacts with the UNCF, so they became sponsors.
So at the point that you became a member of BIM, were you with Xerox or were you with the United Negro College Fund or were you still with both?
I was, once I chose to stay with the United Negro College Fund beyond the required 6 months,
Okay.
I had left Xerox.
I got you.
And so I was with UNCF here, and I believe I got introduced to BIM, as the regional director of UNCF, but I was also going through a transition into banking, which is where I spent, 30 years of my life.
Oh, okay.
So like I said, that's why I said I have various careers.
Well, I think this is good. I mean, we don't know how these interviews are going to be used in the future, but I think it's good for people to know that sometimes Black people who have been in management positions have made other decisions or have been chosen to serve in multiple roles. So that leads me to my next question was, did you have a leadership role in BIM at any point?
I did.
Thought at one point you were president.
I preceded you. See how you...
Oh, you were working for me. Okay. Because I thought it was Terry Hamilton Brown who was before me. But then again, I may not have the order correct.
Well,
so
right.
you were before me. Okay.
It was always a smooth transition. But yes, I was there. I was also the vice president.
Okay.
And I was also the treasurer. And so I had to think about it because it does get hazy.
Okay. Over the years.
But I did serve in all of those positions.
Very nice.
And learned a lot about, it's certainly easier sometimes in the corporate world than it is herding cats of all A personalities. So
this is very true.
So,
ask me how I know. So that kind of leads to the next question. What role did you play do you think BIM played, rather, in the lives of other black executives? Could you comment on that? One thing I know, and I just want to share a positive memory for me, one of my positive memories was when you and your wife hosted BIM at your home. And I remember thinking, wow, has this been happening? In other words, I came at a moment when BIM was in transition, but it was so nice to be in a BIM gathering at someone's home as opposed to one of the places I also enjoyed, which was down at Karamu. I know we used to have meetings there as well. But anyway, I guess the question is, what role would you say BIM has been playing or did play in the lives of other black executives?
Well, I think my memories and recollection and fondness of those memories are probably echoed throughout everybody that you've talked to. It was really something personal because you felt that you had people that were like-minded.
That's right.
That went through some of the same challenges that any of us go through.
That's right.
But quickly being an African American, and even more so these days, you recognize that some of your challenges are unique to who and what you are. So to have folks that you could count on that became friends in a lot of ways, but they were certainly mentors. They were certainly people that you looked up to in terms of what they'd accomplished, and the fact that they would share with you private anecdotes and their wisdom, it was invaluable.
That's good. And you're right, that has been echoed in some of the other interviews. I don't think people have used it in that language, though, so I appreciate that being added. Private anecdotes. Sometimes people felt, I'm only sharing this with you in a confidential, safe space because I know it'll be of benefit. Yeah. So I already got that question about what offices or roles did you have. What would you say are some of the unique accomplishments of BIM?
Well, you mentioned one that I had quite frankly forgotten about, us hosting, my wife and I hosting one of our get-togethers at our home. And you also mentioned Karamu. I mean, Karamu was the traditional meeting place for decades.
And I didn't realize that, yeah. I came into BIM 2009, so there were several years before me, yeah.
So, no, but the point being, to answer your question directly, try to do different things to evolve and try to do different things that got back to what I felt at the time was the root of BIM. Most of the BIM members, and I'm sure that you've got others that could clarify my remarks, but my thought was most of the BIM members originated from the Cleveland Electric Illuminating group.
Okay.
They were friends, colleagues, and in some cases and sometimes they even had support of the old CEI in terms of hosting some of their retreats.
So I recall Bracy Lewis mentioning that sometimes the corporations from which BIM members had come were hosting.
That's true.
Some of the events that BIM hosts. Yeah.
Well, it's as you climb the corporate ladder, oftentimes you do have your own budget. So if you can justify it from a business aspect, then it was accepted.
Very good.
So
Very good.
I was part of that transition.
What was the response to BIM and its initiatives from the corporate community, as you recall?
It was one of positivity,
Okay.
and I think it really related to when whatever superior knew of your involvement. The next natural question is, well, who else is in the organization? And oftentimes, because of the members that we had and their really action and leadership in the community, it was well respected. So they were understanding and in some ways impressed by the fact that one of their employees
Right.
was a member of this group.
That's good. What would you say was the response from the greater Cleveland community? I guess I'm making a distinction between the corporate community and the...
Well, BIM, and that's one I've had to think about, and I still don't have the exact answer.
I'm still thinking about it myself. Even as I pose the question to you, it's a little...
Well,
it has a nuance
and
to
it gets back to the origin of BIM and what it was, and it was basically an invitation only
Okay,
group.
right,
You had to be invited in.
Right.
They were looking for people, not necessarily C-suite, but certainly had management responsibilities,
right,
and like-mindedness. We wanted people that were understanding of the important role to share and to be a mentor, whether officially or unofficially. But again, most importantly, hold those conversations that you would have with other BIM members sacred. So you had a trust
I think that's
level
so
there.
important because sometimes people who are outside of that world don't understand the invitation-only part and don't understand sometimes how lonely those C-suite and close to C-suite positions can be. Not only, sometimes people don't realize how lonely they can be, but they may not realize why you need a close-knit inner circle
Well,
while you're navigating things you've never navigated before.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but your question was, how did the wider community, view us? I think by intention, we never sought approval or necessarily recognition by the wider
Right,
community.
okay.
It was, again, a very close-knit group, not closed, but
Not closed,
but
okay,
close-knit.
but close-knit. What would you want current Black executives to know about BIM? And I ask that because these set of interviews are for posterity's sake.
Right.
And I have a fantasy that perhaps some current executives would say, you need to go listen to the BIM interviews. But,
Well, I mean, that's not far-fetched, especially in these times. I mean, I'm a child of the 60s where we had, a lot of civil and social, I think, reckonings.
right,
They turned up in legislation that's now being rolled back, voter right acts.
exactly.
Everything
that says DEI.
anything. that says-
Anything and
it's-
everything. Yeah.
And it's actually insane to think of the gains that we made over 100 years to come to fruition are now being challenged in a matter of a few years.
That's right. In some
so-
cases, a few months.
Well, it's ongoing. So I'm hopeful that an organization like BIM can be used as really a help, and I won't call it a crutch, but really a support for folks that look like me that are being challenged like we've never been challenged before.
That's right. We are definitely in that moment. I know we only have a couple more minutes left, but I got two more questions. So one is, what is your fondest memory of BIM? You have more than I have, I'm sure, but if you had to pick a couple.
Well, and it kind of goes into one of the other questions that you asked me to at least ponder. What were some of the BIM events
Right.
that you were most happy with?
Yeah,
But the fondness of BIM for me really comes down to the personal relationships.
okay.
and I know that Hilton Smith was interviewed here, but as he recently passed, and I think back to,
I'm so glad we got his interview
oh,
in.
no
I was
question.
so relieved.
But that just brought me back to a litany. And I don't want to start naming names because
Sure.
there are a lot of important people that have passed that were part of my growth.
Right.
But Stan Miller sticks out.
Stan Miller sticks in my mind too.
Along with Hilton. You've got the folks from you got the Clay Wishams that were one of the founding members again from that CEI
That's right.
group.
Yeah.
You've got and Lorna's dad, which hopefully you'll talk to Lorna.
Yeah, Lorna is scheduled to be interviewed right after you today.
Again, my Uncle Al. But a lot of the mentors that I had have passed, but those are very, very fond memories. And some of the things that we have shared in conversation, as well as action, golf, vacation, just happenstance meeting someplace,
Right.
always hold a special place in my heart.
Okay. If there is an aspect, this was the second pressing question. If there were an aspect of BIM you would have changed, what would it be? And I asked that for a very personal reason of my own. We chose after a point to sunset it because it could be argued that BIM served a unique role, and over time, more executives were coming to Cleveland, not in need of the same kind of inner circle, maybe in need of it, but needed a different circle.
And
So I guess I'm just curious how you would answer that.
And that's kind of a regret because we couldn't figure that out given the brain power that we had. Because certainly I think the primary mission of BIM and purpose is probably even more needed now, given some of the challenges that we're all facing.
That's true. That's an interesting perspective.
And the other thing that I think we did not do well was bring in younger members. I mean, most of the folks that I mentioned are either older than I am, and I'm entering my seventh decade.
Okay.
And
You admitted it on tape. Okay.
I admitted it on
Go
tape.
ahead.
I'm proud of that.
Okay.
I made it this far.
Right. That's how
But-
I feel. Every day is a blessing.
But that it is a regret that because I do think that we're needed actually now more than ever, given some of the challenges that we're having to the progress that we just talked about that we've made over the years. 40, 50 years of challenge is coming down in 4 or 5 years. So we have to remain strong, and I think the ability to network is even more important. Ours wasn't it was a social network, but not in the sense of social network of today, where social networks are digital.
That's right.
Through different platforms.
Yeah.
Ours was personal and direct. So even though I did vote for the transition and sunset of the organization, I'm a little bit disappointed that that we could not continue in some way because I think it's needed more than ever.
Wow. I appreciate you sharing that. And I think, over the time of these interviews, the moment we're in right now, it's really more clear than ever just how dire it is. So that's a very important point. And I think you're not the only one, but I think you've said it differently and in some ways that resonate with right now, that was a change the organization did not really make. It might have made it. There were conversations about it. But that's a word to the future, the need to be intergenerational as you do these kinds of programs. So I think I've covered everything. I want to give you a moment just in case there's another memory. One of the things that some people shared was that BIM was a kind of family organization. And I didn't experience that as much as a newer member, but that apparently was some of the history.
Oh, that was the origin. And it kind of goes hand in hand, which I didn't say, and I think that's how you were first introduced to BIM. One of the things I am most proud of that we did, and it kind of became, I won't call it a signature event, but a happening where we welcome new executives to town.
That's how Felton, the the CEO of this library and I were introduced at a introduction
Right.
that BIM facilitated at my university, you know, at Case Western
Oh,
Reserve.
I remember.
And I thought, oh, boy, do I need this. You know, I was new in town,
Right.
and I thought to meet other leaders in town who were C-suite or similar C-suite
Well,
kinds
the
of
important thing is
positions.
like-minded.
Like-minded,
And you
like-minded.
find, and you know, we were very expansive in that. I mean,
Right.
we all didn't do the same things, but the core DNA
The core DNA.
is the same.
Right. And I appreciate that because I had heard at one point it did not include higher ed. And so I was glad. And, you know, and also I represent a moment that happened a few years before me when women were part of BIM because initially people like Charlize Pratt told me that
All right.
women were not initially part of BIM. And in that regard, it's similar to some other organizations that recognize the value of being inclusive from that perspective. So, you have an opportunity if there's another memory.
No,
Otherwise,
I smile only because the great majority of my memories are all fine. And they're
good.
also personally go back to individuals. You know, some of those individuals, you know, we still see each other and we still talk about them
Nice.
in those times because that was a common bond that we had. So, you know, BIM does live on in the hearts and soul of a lot of folks. And you never know, given some of the challenges that we're faced now.
Yes.
And we're trying to navigate our way through. You never know. BIM, you know, I won't call it BIM in itself may resurface, but I still think the organization's purpose will find its way to the surface as we shall overcome the challenges that we face today.
Oh, wow. That's a wonderful way to conclude our interview. So
Well,
thank
thank
you
you.
for your time.